婚2年后的第一次相亲。
Divorced for 2 years. Today I finally met a blind date in the afternoon. Sisters, listen to my advice. If you have children after a divorce, even if they are not with you, try not to find a man if you can. I've been through remarriage myself, and if I seek again, it would be my 3rd marriage. I deeply understand that even though this man has good conditions, I'm no worse than him. However, in the eyes of many men, divorced women are of low value, even seen as cheap. Why did I go on a blind date today? Initially, I just wanted to try my luck, thinking that maybe I could meet a good man. Because I realized that in many men's minds, as long as you've been married and have had children, you're seen as worthless in remarriage. Sisters, you have to believe me, they often only value something in you, whether it's your reproductive value, other value, or labor value. Don't fantasize about changing your fate through marriage or a man. If you envy those women who marry into wealthy families, you must also consider whether you have the capability. For me, I know I don't have that capital, so I won't pursue unrealistic goals. Some people ask, if you don't look for a man, what will you do for the rest of your life? How will you solve retirement? Actually, as long as you have money and children, there is hope. Men are not your dependents. The only things you can truly rely on are yourself, the money in your hands, and your ability to control the situation. Making money is indeed not easy, but compared to guessing people's minds, money is more reliable. Remarriage might bring happiness, but are you willing to gamble your happiness for the rest of your life? I'm not. So today's blind date made me feel disappointed once again. I'm not saying there aren't good men, but the chances of meeting a good man are too low. Instead of pinning your hopes on men, relying on your own abilities is more practical. As long as you're not lazy, willing to set aside your pride, and work hard, success is within reach. So don't put all your thoughts on men, as you might end up with nothing. It's better to focus on making money because at least that's something you can control, unlike men.
38岁单亲带2娃4年的妈妈，勇敢寻找幸福。
At 38 years old, I've been a single parent, living alone with my 2 children for 4 years. Today, I bravely took a flight to meet a male netizen, but I received a lot of insults and abuse from other netizens. In the end, our date failed because the man couldn't accept my conditions. Honestly, I wasn't surprised. When others separate for just a few months and start flaunting their love with a 20-year-old girlfriend online, most people admire and praise them. But when I, at 38 years old, having lived alone with my 2 children for 4 years, try to pursue happiness, I get torn apart by critics. This has once again made me deeply feel that the standards for men and women in this world are indeed unequal. I summarize the negative comments online, and they mainly fall into 2 categories. The first is appearance-based attacks. They mock my looks, age, and even criticize the raw camera footage I use. Today's photos were also taken with the raw camera, and I didn't wear any makeup. As an ordinary single mother who has been struggling to support her family for 4 years, I don't have time to exercise, nor have I done any anti-aging treatments or medical aesthetics. I'm not a celebrity. I admit that I haven't taken good care of my face, and I've let down women in their 30s. I apologize to everyone. Actually, when I was 20, my classmates used to say I looked like I was 28, and I really thought I was beautiful. I don't think feeling beautiful is something to be ashamed of, and I am trying to make my life more beautiful. I also hope that my sisters can be as confident as I am. Women don't have to be beautiful, but they can possess an attractive trait, which is confidence. Some sisters might think that being confident without being beautiful will be labeled as narcissism. Don't worry, being narcissistic is better than being insecure. Life is already hard enough, so don't add the mental burden of appearance anxiety on top of that. Can you still be happy that way? The second negative comment targets moral judgments. Some men happily watch videos of beautiful women online while privately meeting other women. This is not uncommon. Some men criticize my morals and life choices while they're doing the same things. I've found that whenever a woman challenges a man's opinion, they often shift the topic to morality, gathering more people to criticize your character and conduct. Here's the key. You need to be especially careful with this trap. When someone can't argue their point, they often use so-called traditional moral standards or even shame to make you feel guilty. This is the lowest cost method they use to control women, and it quickly diverts attention away from their own wrongdoings. When I was younger, I also tried to prove my purity, to prove that I was a good woman. But in the end, I realized that none of that matters. People who want to get to know you don't need you to prove anything. If you keep questioning yourself, you'll start doubting yourself, denying yourself, and eventually making yourself more unhappy and more easily manipulated by others. We are adults and know our own principles and boundaries. We don't need men to constantly bring up moral concepts and use them as ropes to strangle us. So, those men who always morally blackmail you are actually cowardly, lazy, and shameful mental manipulators. I just want to say to these people, please go away. There's also a small group of women who really embody the phrase, "Why do women make things harder for other women?" They leave comments like, "If I were a man, I wouldn't choose a high-standard single mother like you." Some even go as far as to insult my profession. To this, I can only say that these women's understanding of life dictates their fate. They deserve to meet those mentally manipulative, disrespectful men and willingly become their puppets for life. That's fine. I wish them a long and happy marriage, but please don't drag me into it. Thank you. Finally, I want to say, as women reach middle age, the number of choices in life starts to dwindle, the cost of making mistakes increases, and even our dreams must be tempered. What we can do is try to make ourselves a little happier. If being narcissistic makes you happy, then go ahead and be narcissistic. If dating makes you happy, then go ahead and date. Of course, that's assuming you're single, just like me. In short, life is already halfway over. If you still care about others' opinions, suppress yourself, let others affect your mood, and even refuse to accept your true self, then you've really shortchanged yourself. Sisters, remember this. Love yourself first, and then you'll have the ability to love others. I'll say it again, if you can't find the right person, just keep dating until you're 80.
我35岁离异，是个单亲妈妈。我有一个10岁的女儿。
I am 35 years old this year, divorced, and a single mother raising a 10-year-old daughter on my own. I have been on over 30 unsuccessful blind dates. The main reason is that the men completely fail to understand my concerns when I make 3 demands. First, I hope to have a wedding and receive a 100,000 yuan bride price. Second, I do not want to have more children. Third, the man needs to buy a house in the city and my name must be on the property deed to facilitate my daughter's future schooling. Despite being in a second marriage, I really do not want to lower my standards, and I am quite attractive, standing 170 centimeters tall and looking like a 28-year-old woman.
Some divorced women always refuse to listen to advice and cling to unrealistic dreams, stubbornly holding on to their lost youth and harboring impractical fantasies. This is essentially a self-limiting marriage. Why wait until reality hits you hard before waking up? Wanting both money and property, but refusing to have children? What exactly do you think men are after? Your blind sense of superiority or your unrealistic high demands? This is a sign of not understanding the market, lacking self-awareness. Why haven't you realized the problem after 30 failed blind dates? Men who can accept you are a scarce resource and hard to come by. Yet you still fantasize about meeting someone who meets all your demands. As the saying goes, listen to advice and you'll be well fed. You're not young anymore. Try not to be so arrogant in your expectations. Before making such demands, take a look at what resources you have. Nowadays, there are countless young and attractive unmarried women. Compare your own conditions. While they are in their prime, you have long passed your flower season, with no advantages left, yet you still wish to set a high price. Stop living in a fairy tale, fantasizing about a Prince Charming coming to marry you. Don't blame men for not recognizing your worth. Instead, reflect on yourself and whether you might also be at fault. As the saying goes, if your own conditions are not high, don't aim too high. It's crucial to understand the real blind date market and recognize the situation.
The current marriage market is increasingly frustrating. I met a man nearly 40 years old who complained about my age and said that given my situation, I could only be a stepmother and might even be considered a grandmother if I waited any longer. I'm only 29, single with 2 sons, and still a woman with some charm. In 2024, the matchmaking market is highly competitive. This potential match was born in 1985, making him 40 years old this year. He is divorced with 1 child and holds a middle management position in a well-known local company, with an annual salary of 200,000 to 300,000 yuan. He is a local, owns a car and a house, and is said to be reliable and suitable for a stable life, so I agreed to meet him for afternoon tea. At first, Our conversation went very well. He was gentle and dependable, which is the type of man I like. I assumed the introducer had already informed him about my basic situation, but it turned out he didn't even know my age. When he found out I was 29, he immediately showed his dissatisfaction. He said the introducer told him I was around 25, as he only considered women around 25 because he thought women over 30 would have difficulty giving birth, and he planned to have another child. I can't understand why a man nearly 40 would find a woman nearly 32 old when I haven't complained about his age. Moreover, his conditions are not particularly great. He is divorced with a child. From the beginning, he was very picky, which is disheartening. I've seen a matchmaking rule that suggests when you find a match whose height, education, family background, income, and values meet your expectations, they often won't be interested in you. While this isn't always true, it seems quite reasonable. My recent matchmaking experience was the same. He was unhappy with my age and refused to compromise. This first matchmaking attempt of the year ended in failure. I really want to ask, do 40-year-old men really think women in their 30s are too old? How can you avoid discussing your own conditions but be so picky about someone else's age? Through multiple matchmaking attempts, I've concluded that single mothers shouldn't have overly high expectations of finding a perfect match. The mutual pickiness in the matchmaking market often makes it even harder to find a suitable partner. We must continue to work hard and strive to find the right person soon.
At 37 years old, divorced and with a child, I have a car and a house. Yet, I still face picky attitudes in the dating market. I work hard to improve myself, and my own conditions are not bad. I am 169 centimeters tall and my appearance is fairly decent. So why am I still being scrutinized by many men? Although some people say that divorced women with children are less desirable, I am very happy with my life. I run my own business, making money with my employees, and on weekends, I take my son to horseback riding lessons. Since I am not favored in the dating market because of my status as a divorced mother, I should focus more on making my life better. Who says I have to please men? At my age, I have seen through it. Men are just an accessory in life. My current principle is to date someone I like when I meet them, and if I don't encounter anyone I like, I will let things flow naturally, continue to work hard, and raise my son well.
我离婚整整10年了。
It has been exactly 10 years since my divorce. It would be untrue to say that no one has pursued me during these 10 years. But why haven't I found a suitable partner in all this time? I often ask myself this question. Many people say that I have high standards and that my requirements for men are too harsh, but that's not quite the case. I truly haven't met a particularly sincere and reliable man. Often, when a man enters my life, I wonder if he could be more patient, pursue me a bit more, or flatter me a few times. If he did, I might be moved, willing to be with him and give him everything. But in reality, many of the people I meet either cannot tolerate my temper or lack sufficient patience. In this era of materialism and fast food, many people say they like you today and tomorrow they say they like you again. If you don't agree with them the day after tomorrow, they'll just move on to the next girl. Some people even say they like you today and then pursue other girls the next day. Such men always hope to find a woman who will fall for their tricks first. So, it's not that I don't want to remarry, but I've lost trust in love and men. I often wonder why so many people have found happiness while I haven't. 'Cause I don't want to be hasty. My first marriage was very hasty. Back then in my 20s, I was young and naive. Just because a man was a little kind to me, I rushed into marriage, ended up with 2 children, and paid a heavy price when we divorced. Now, through my own efforts, I have established myself. My daughter is already 12 years old and taller than me. I don't want to find someone who will lower my quality of life. I can live well on my own, and my daughter and I live happily. If a partner I find cannot make my life better than it is now, do I really need to enter into marriage again? I am not looking for someone particularly wealthy, handsome, or tall, because even if he has these qualities, he can find a girl in her 20s. I know I'm older now, and I'm willing to find someone with average abilities and income, even if they are not as high as mine, and I don't need too much height. But he must be reliable and genuinely caring towards me. I have been looking for such a person, but I haven't encountered anyone yet.
In China today, many divorced single mothers often face rejection, or disdain from men when dating. Why does this happen? If you are divorced with a child and go on a blind date, and you meet a man with decent conditions, is it really surprising that he might look down on you? Just as women may appear proud and dismissive of men with less favorable conditions. Even if a man's conditions are acceptable, if he has an ordinary appearance or average height, women might still criticize him or even mock him behind his back. Many divorced women with children continue to harbor the fantasy of finding a better partner after their divorce. This fantasy often clashes with reality. It is clearly more difficult for divorced women with children to remarry compared to others. Additionally, many of these women have inflated self-confidence and high demands of men, overlooking their own actual situation and conditions. It is not difficult for divorced women with children to find a man with good character and proper values. However, the problem is that they often have excessively high demands, even hoping to find someone better than themselves. This high expectation and self-righteous attitude result in frequent setbacks in their blind dates. Even if you have a house, a car, and money, so what? Will you spend money on a man? Even if you are divorced with a child and are looking for a partner through blind dates, aren't you still hoping to find a man with better conditions? Aren't you still hoping to enjoy a superior lifestyle? Do you think men are fools? Thus, such expectations often seem unrealistic. In reality, men looking for a partner seek younger, more attractive women who can bear children. Divorced women with children are often perceived as unable to meet these requirements and are therefore neglected. Even if they have good conditions like a house, a car, and money, they cannot conceal the fact that they have a child. Men look for value exchange in marriage, and divorced women with children need to understand their own value. Not everyone is willing to accept this situation. In summary, the difficulties faced by divorced women with children in the remarriage market are not just about age or marital experience, but also about their mindset and values. Men are increasingly clear about what they need in a partner, and their requirements are more precise. Whether older single women or those who are remarrying, finding a suitable partner ultimately depends on their actual situation and values.